Let's be honest, learning to love yourself is fucking hard. But the second you realize you can feel differently about yourself, that's the moment that everything will fall into place. Sometimes we forget that we're human, that we're not perfect, and that we were all made differently. You just gotta remind yourself that no one is you, and that is your biggest power. We carry so much weight on our shoulders, that negativity that constantly follows us, the people who said you couldn't do anything, the people who made fun of you for trying, the people who dictated how you'd feel about yourself. People tend to forget that words cut like daggers, but people also forget those words shouldn't matter. Today is a brand new day, so let's get rid of that weight on our shoulders and just take it off. I remember the moment that I realized that I could feel differently about myself. I remember that I was in my room staring at the ceiling, and suddenly I was having the biggest nervous breakdown of life. Have you ever like cried so much that you just can't even cry anymore? Like your mind, your heart, your body, it just feels so empty, and suddenly like your mind is so clear that you just like look up and you're just like, I had struggled with bullying and self-hate for such a long time that it literally consumed me emotionally and physically, and it broke me. That day that I was just laying down staring at my ceiling, I felt like everything was just so clear. Like I felt so light, like I just didn't have a care in the world anymore. I think it was like that point where you just like, you've had so much that you're just like, I'm done, like enough is enough. And I remember saying that. That was a moment that I acknowledged that I was suffering and that I was hurting. And in some odd way, I had never felt more at peace. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, because I just finally accepted that I was just not happy, and I was always pretending to be. Self-love is about getting in touch with ourselves and our happiness. Growing up, I was constantly made fun of because of my weight and my height. I remember like always having to apologize for some weird reason for having a fast metabolism. I don't know why. I would just constantly say sorry as if it was by choice that I was just so skinny all the time. It was just, I always found that so bizarre, and to this day I'm like, why would anyone feel the need to apologize to somebody for their human composition? I remember I was always made fun of because of my height, because I was such a tall girl. Like I'm really not that tall, to be honest. I've seen tall girls. My sister's actually much taller than I am. But it's just so interesting how like in high school and like middle school and even elementary school, you know, I was always in sneakers and I was always the girl in the back of the school photos because I was just so damn tall. All the girls got to wear their like pretty little heels, and God forbid I would wear heels because then I would just overtower people and it would make me feel even more self-conscious. Due to my rapid growth, I do have tons of visible stretch marks all over my knees, my back, my thighs, my arms, everywhere. I was never really self-conscious about them until this kid in school like pointed them out. He just randomly came up to me and he was like, you must have been really fat, right? And I looked at him and I was like, huh? I was just so confused. Like I was so freaking confused. This kid I had never talked to in my life, and he was a good looking kid, you know? He was one of the popular guys or whatever. And he was like, yeah, you lost a lot of weight? And I was like, no, I've always been really skinny. And he was like, oh really? He's like, that's so weird. And I was like, why? Well, you have stretch marks all over your legs. And he just like legit like pointed them out, and I was wearing shorts that day, and you could actually see my thigh ones, and you could see my my knee ones, and I was looking down and I was like, oh my god, what are these marks? I didn't even know what stretch marks look like, because that was just not something that I thought about. Like, I kept thinking, I was like, oh my god, I'm literally covered in these things. And he just looked at me and he just looked so confused. And the fact that I was confused and he was confused, we kind of just like, it was just the most awkward thing. And I remember just standing up and grabbing my stuff and just like booking it. Like I left. And then I remember going home and just having like so many questions, like, Mom, why is my skin like this? And oh my god, and blah blah blah. Ever since that moment, I stopped wearing skirts and I stopped wearing shorts or anything that just showed my legs or any of my stretch marks, because I just became the most self-conscious person of life. It's so sad how there's just so much pressure for women in particular to look a certain way or be a certain way, and it just blows my mind. Honestly, it doesn't even blow my mind, it really makes me sad. Women are the ones that will actually point out these imperfections to other women, as opposed to celebrating themselves for who they are. And it just blows my mind, like that whole like cattiness and that envy or whatnot, or that need to feel like you're better than somebody else. It's just so like, it's definitely taken me a couple of years, and it's been a crazy battle learning to love myself. I went from hating every aspect of myself to loving every imperfection, because I realized that I'm human. One of the biggest steps in learning to love yourself is actually being able to accept yourself at your lightest and at your darkest. You shouldn't pretend that everything is okay when it's not. Like, you should truly just let yourself go, cry, be mad, be angry, you know, embrace the parts of you that aren't pretty. To pretend your life is all, you know, rainbows and butterflies, it's just denying who you are as a person. It's pure bullshit. You're bullshitting yourself and you're bullshitting the people around you. Another huge step in loving yourself is to treat yourself like someone who deserves to be loved and someone who deserves respect. I remember there was a point in my life where I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I remember being angry a lot. I suffered from depression and anxiety. I remember I started binge eating, and then I felt disgusting, so I was disgusted at myself. I remember I would cut myself, and I even experimented with drugs. I was so lost as an individual. I don't ever want to go back to the time where I hurt myself externally and internally. It's been years since then, and it hurts every time to think that I was capable of hurting my body and hurting myself and just treating myself in a way that I thought that's how I deserved to be treated, because I wasn't worthy of love, I wasn't worthy of respect, so I just treated myself accordingly. It's so stupid. It hurts to know that I was capable of doing that to myself, and it hurts to know that there are people out there who are currently suffering and feeling like they too don't deserve to exist or deserve to be loved or respected. If there's anything that life has taught me, is to learn to forgive yourself. We all make mistakes. Ultimately, your mistakes and what you learn from them are what shape you into the person that you are today. And whether you are happy with today's you or you're not, it's honestly never too late to become the better you that you want to be. It takes far more energy to hate than to love. And I was filled with so much love to give. So I started with myself. And I'm very proud. I realized that you can't truly love somebody until you learn to love yourself. It sounds cheesy, but honestly, there's this type of love that exists within us that literally feels like euphoria. And you will feel that when you're truly happy. And you'll know because you'll want to share that with the world. I think a huge step in learning to love yourself is giving yourself credit for being different. You know, we're all born differently and we all have different qualities. So remind yourself what you're good at and keep doing it. It will really help you appreciate yourself, because sometimes when you focus too much on what you dislike about yourself, you just let it consume your thoughts, and so much to the point that it leaves absolutely no room for you to actually focus what it is that you're good at, or you know, your good qualities. Let's get down to the basics and things that you should do to just make your life a little better, and it will definitely help in the process of learning to love yourself. You need a routine, and it's so simple as getting enough sleep. You know, you want your mind to be focused in life, and you want to be healthy, and in order to love yourself, you really have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself physically and emotionally, and in order to do that, you have to have a clear state of mind, and sleeping will help tons, I assure you. So will exercise. Do whatever it is that motivates you to just like get up and go, even if it's for a couple minutes a day. It truly makes a difference. Like, your body just feels much livelier, and you have more energy to do things, you know. And another thing that I would recommend is meditate. There's no right or wrong form of meditation, but there are so many different ways to meditate that, you know, you're gonna have to experiment and truly find out which one works for you. Always having a clear mind is always good for yourself. You get to really focus on the things that you want in life and things that you want to better. I think a huge thing that is so important when it comes to loving yourself is being able to express gratitude. You know, be thankful for the little things. Sometimes it's good to write, you know, things down, like in a little journal or something. I used to do that every day. I would write something that I was thankful for, and to be honest, there was just so many things that I realized I took for granted, and it just made me love just so much more. And I feel like when you're open to realizing what these little things are and how you really shouldn't take them for granted, and it just becomes easier to continue loving more things, you know. I think one of the most important things in learning to love yourself, and probably one of the hardest things, is to set boundaries. Mainly because it requires you to just step away from the things that are essentially toxic in your life, even if that may be people. And sometimes people find it very hard to let go of people for fear of disappointment. If you have people in your life who are toxic, people who don't support you, people who make you feel like you are less than what you truly are, you don't need people like that in your life. You're not doing yourself a favor by hanging out with people who make you feel bad about yourself. I hate to break it to you, they're not for you. I don't understand why you would even want to be around people like that, but I've been there, and I will say it's not easy to just back away. You will realize in life that it is just so much nicer and brighter to be around people who will uplift you and motivate you rather than pull you down, even if this person might be extremely close to you or not. Just don't be afraid to set your boundaries, because you do need to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. Definitely don't forget to treat yourself. Treating yourself doesn't mean buying yourself anything, honestly. Treating yourself can just be taking a break. And I think the last thing that I do recommend is to take a trip somewhere. That might be a little harder for people to do because it does require money, and most people are kind of struggling right now with money. But taking trips, honestly, just it helps so much. I recently took a trip to South Korea, and it was just the most beautiful and eye-opening experience of life, and it honestly gave me so much insight as to who I am as a person and who I want to continue being. And it was just such a breath of fresh air, to be honest. And sometimes people need that. Sometimes people need to get away, and I am so grateful that I did. It took me a while, but I honestly never would have imagined that I'd be able to say that I am happy with who I am as a person, and I am happy accepting my flaws. I'm so happy that I'm not the type of person that I was 5, 10, 15 years ago. It's truly the greatest feeling in the world to be happy with who you are and what you look like. Allowing yourself to love and be loved by you, your friends, and your family is honestly the greatest feeling in the world. I hope that anyone who has been through or is currently going through something similar can look past this and know that you are not alone, that there is always someone out there that's going through the same issues, if not worse, and that there's always going to be someone there for you to lean on. Don't be afraid to lean on them, whether it's a friend, a family, or even music. Like, honestly, I found K-pop back in high school when I was struggling the most with my life, and for some reason I stopped listening to K-pop. And had I continued listening to K-pop, I probably wouldn't have ended up as fucked up as I did. But to be honest, I always feel like everything happens for a reason, and it just wasn't my time. I feel like had I listened to K-pop more then, I probably wouldn't have had the same appreciation for K-pop that I do now. So I'm grateful that I was able to find K-pop during this, you know, time in my life as opposed to then, because it truly does make a huge difference in my life, and I'm so grateful for it. Don't forget, guys, that we're all human and we're all going through something. Be kind to each other. This is my first video on my personal YouTube. I know it's very long and it might be very boring, but I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I honestly did this more so for myself, if anything. I just felt like it was a necessary video for me to do. It might just give you a little more insight as who I am as a person, and why I do or say certain things or feel a certain way about something. But yeah, if you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys. Much love.